Now, if you've ever wanted to learn to DJ but felt overwhelmed by all the different gear, techniques, and advice online, this video will give you a clear starting point. I'm going to show you the core skills that actually matter, the right order to learn them in, and how to avoid the common mistakes that slow most beginners down. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how DJing works, what to practice, and how to start progressing with confidence. My name is DJ Blakey. I'm a DMC champion, and I've helped thousands of DJs level up through my online courses and YouTube tutorials. So let's get into it. Okay, so in this video, you're going to learn exactly how DJing actually works, the 4 core DJ skills that you need to focus on, what DJ gear you actually need, where you can find music for your first DJ set, how to practice properly, how long it's going to take you to progress, and I'm also going to show you exactly what you should not focus on at this stage. And once you learn all of this stuff, you are going to be in the best position possible to learn how to DJ properly without building any bad habits. Now, right here, I have a bunch of different beginner DJ controllers. Now, the one that we're going to be using for this video is this one here, the DJing Flex 4 from Pioneer DJ. But no matter what beginner controller you have, this is the Reloop Ready. Right here, we've got the Hercules DJ Control Mix Ultra. And right here, it's another Pioneer DJ controller, which is the DJing Rev 1. And there's even a smaller version of the DJing Flex 4 called the DJing Flex 2. No matter which one of these controllers you're using, you're going to be able to follow along with everything I teach you in this video. Because whilst they all look very different, the core principles and the core features are all the same. Every single one of these controllers has volume controls for each deck. They have jog wheels, they have pitch controls, and they have EQs. And at this stage of your journey, those are the only tools that you're going to need. And if you're not sure what equipment you need to get started, I've created this completely free beginner DJ setup guide, which shows you exactly what you need to start DJing and how everything connects. The link is in the description if you'd like to download it for free. So how does DJing really work? At its core, DJing is all about controlling the music and playing it in a way that feels cohesive and keeps people on the dance floor all night long. At this beginner stage, DJing is not actually about flashy tricks. All of that stuff can come later. But if you're a beginner, you really need to learn the foundational core skills of DJing before you progress onto that kind of stuff. Good DJing is often subtle. It's about playing the right song at the right moment, and your job is to keep the energy flowing in between songs. Think of it as building one continuous experience rather than just pressing play on a bunch of random tracks on Spotify. You don't actually need to impress anybody yet. DJing is a lot simpler than it looks when you understand the fundamentals. Now, there are 4 core skills that we're going to focus on in this video, and it's important to remember that you do not need to learn every single DJ trick in the world all at once, because every great DJ has built their entire career on the 4 core skills that I'm going to show you later in this video. And those 4 core skills are phrasing, beat matching, EQ control, and learning simple transitions. Track selection is also super important, but that is so personal to every individual DJ. And it's actually one of the most fun, creative parts of DJing because everybody has different taste in music. And if we're being completely honest, we all think that ours is the best. And DJing is a creative way of showcasing your taste in music and then creatively constructing a continuous mix of the music that you love. And I'm going to show you a little bit later on in the video where you can find music for your DJ sets. So now let's talk about what DJ gear you actually need. So right here, this is called a DJ controller, and this is the DJing Flex 4 from Pioneer DJ. In my opinion, this is by far the best beginner controller in the world because you get so much for your money. So if you don't yet have a DJ controller, this is the one that I would recommend. Now, you're also going to need a laptop with DJ software, and really you can use any laptop that's been released in the last 5 to 6 years. The more powerful, the better, but anything released in that time should be completely fine. You will also need a pair of headphones, and these plug into the controller, and you actually use the headphones to preview the song that you're about to mix in. And this is so that you can get the next track lined up perfectly in time before the crowd actually hears it. So essentially, you use the headphones to make the mix sound nice before you bring up the volume control and introduce that track to the audience. Honestly, any headphones that sit on your head will do. And then on the laptop, we have DJ software. And in this video, I'm going to be using Rekordbox, which actually comes for free with the DDJ Flex 4. There are lots of other amazing DJ software options like Serato, Algorithm DJ, and Virtual DJ. Any one of those will be completely fine. And then finally, you might want to use some speakers and plug them into your DJ controller, but you could just use the speakers on your laptop for now at this beginner stage. To be honest, I would recommend getting some cheap powered active speakers, which will plug directly into the back of your DJ controller. But if you don't have those just yet, don't worry, you can still start learning. If you have cash to burn, by all means, go ahead and buy something more expensive and more premium than one of these beginner controllers. But the truth is, you don't need to do that. I am a big advocate of the DDJ Flex 4, and no, I am not paid to say that in any way. That is my honest opinion as a DMC champion and pro DJ of over 25 years. The amount of things that you can do on the DDJ Flex 4 is kind of crazy. A basic beginner DJ controller setup is more than enough to start learning properly. And again, I cover all of this in my free beginner DJ setup guide, which is linked in the description. Now let's talk quickly about where you can find music in your DJ software. I recommend, if you're a beginner DJ, to use one of the many streaming services available in all major DJ software platforms. This right here is Rekordbox, and you can see on the left-hand side, you can log in to Beatport, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Music, and Tidal. And I'm sure that you've probably got a subscription to one of those platforms. So I recommend logging into that in your DJ software and just start using the music that you already know and love inside your chosen streaming service. You do not need a giant music collection to start. And actually, at this stage, it's best to keep your first practice playlist small and manageable. So inside Rekordbox, let's go over to Beatport, and I'm already logged in. But if you haven't yet logged in to your chosen streaming service inside Rekordbox, you will have a login button here in the software. Click that, log in, and all of your playlists and music that you've saved will show up here. Now, the reason I like Beatport is it is great for dance music. It's the best platform if you want to play tech house, drum and bass, UK garage, and even hip hop now. And I also really like the fact that you can look through the top 100 in your chosen genre directly inside your DJ software. So let's click on the genres drop-down menu, and then let's just choose a genre. Let's go to drum and bass. So right here, you can click on the drum and bass top 100, and now we can see the top 100 drum and bass tracks inside Beatport. And the reason I find this so useful is you can get a really good idea of what is currently popular in your chosen genre. And I have found so much new music by going through the top 100 in the UK garage chart and the drum and bass chart. And then I like to make my own playlists and then add new music that I find into those playlists so that if they ever fall out of the top 100, I've still got them there. And honestly, I've discovered so much music that I never would have found if it wasn't for the Beatport top 100. So now inside Rekordbox, let's go over to the playlist icon here, click that, and then let's click on playlists. And I'm going to click this plus icon here to make a brand new playlist. Let's call this one New D&B. And now let me show you a super useful hack inside Rekordbox. So if we click on this icon here, this will open up the playlist palettes. And the playlist palettes are 4 empty playlists that you can have visible inside the software at all times. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my new D&B playlist over to one of these blank lists. And now we can go back to Beatport, and now we're searching through the top 100 here. And let's say you want to drag this track into my new D&B playlist. All you need to do is drag it over here. Let's add a couple more tracks to it. Let's do one more. So this is a great way of having multiple playlists visible even when you're searching through your streaming service, and I highly recommend using it. If you want to make the playlist palettes window smaller, all you need to do is click this icon here, and it will minimize that playlist, but the playlist is still there. So I can drag more tracks onto that new D&B playlist, and it will put them into that playlist. At this stage, I recommend making a playlist in your chosen genre and adding no more than 10 tracks. This is going to help reduce overwhelm and stop you getting decision fatigue on which track you should practice mixing next. So now that you understand what DJing is, what gear you need, and where your music is coming from, let's get into the 4 core skills that you need to learn to start DJing properly from day one. Now, the first core skill is called phrasing. And this one is so important because mixing at the right phrase is what makes DJ mixes sound natural. If you mix 2 tracks out of phrase, it is one of the quickest ways of giving away that you are a beginner and an amateur. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the track on the right deck and I'm going to put a counter on the screen and count along with every single beat that happens in this track. And the reason that I'm doing this is because every 32 beats, a new phrase will happen. Take a listen to what happens at the end of every 32 beat phrase. The track will change in some way. Maybe a bass line is introduced. Maybe some percussion is added to the drums. Or maybe all of the drums come out of the track for a breakdown section. The key thing to notice here is that after 32 beats, the track will change. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And the track will change. So some nice chords were added in this new phrase. And now we have a new phrase here. So this is the breakdown section. All of the energy has dropped out of the track and there'll be a new phrase in a moment, which will be the drop. In 4, 3, 2, 1. This is how all modern dance music is structured. Every 32 beats, something in the track changes. And what this means is you need to start mixing in your next track in phrase at the end of a 32 beat section. Now, let me quickly reassure you. You will not need to count along with every song that you ever play in your DJ career. I can assure you that when you see a DJ on stage at a festival or a club, they are not counting along in their head with the beats. Phrasing is just something that you will pick up naturally and instinctively with enough practice. But at this beginner stage, it's important to count along so that you can learn it properly. And then before you know it, you're going to instinctively understand when the phrase ends and when you should start mixing in your next track. To practice this, I recommend choosing one track from your library, start playing it from the first kick drum and count along with the phrases and start to notice how every 32 beats something changes throughout the duration of the track. And this is going to help you start to understand it way more deeply. Now, if you'd like a structured step-by-step path to follow, I've created the Ultimate Beginner DJ course, which walks you through everything you need to know in the right order so that you always know exactly what to focus on next. It's designed to reduce overwhelm and give you a clear progression path to go from complete beginner through to confident DJ. If you'd like to check it out, then just click the first link in the description. Okay, core skill number 2 is beat matching. Beat matching is the cornerstone of any DJ set. Beat matching allows you to play a consistent mix of music, track after track after track, whilst keeping the music flowing and in time consistently. And when you know how to do it, it's actually quite simple. So let me show you. So I have 2 house tracks loaded into both decks in Rekordbox, and you can see that the track on the left deck is 125 BPM, and the track on the right deck is 130 BPM. And for beat matching, we have to make sure that the BPMs of both tracks match. Now here on the DDJ Flex 4, you have a volume control for each deck. So this volume control will control the volume of deck 1, the left deck, and this volume control will control the volume of deck 2, which is the right deck. This right here is the crossfader. When the crossfader is all the way to the left, it will only play the left deck out of the speakers. When it's all the way to the right, it will only play the right deck out of the speakers. And when it's in the middle, that means that both decks are playing out of the speakers. For now, as a beginner, I recommend leaving the crossfader in the middle at all times and only using the volume controls. This is going to give you a way more precise mix. So now with the track on the left deck being 125 BPM and the track on the right deck being 130 BPM, take a listen to what happens when I press play on both tracks at the same time. Very quickly, this is going to sound atrocious. So that right there has a name. It's called a train wreck. And the reason it sounds so messy like that is because the BPMs do not match. So we need to use the tempo adjust, which is right here. You've got one for the left deck and one for the right deck. And we can use this tempo adjust to make sure that the BPMs of both tracks match. So this track is 130 BPM. So I'm going to change this tempo to match the tempo of the track on this deck. And what you need to do for that is you need to move it down to increase the tempo. So you can see inside the Recordbox software, the tempo is increasing as I move the tempo slider until it says 130 or as close as possible. So now that the BPMs of both tracks match, take a listen to what happens when I press play on both decks at the same time with the BPMs matching. They will play at exactly the same speed. So that is how you ensure that two tracks play at exactly the same speed. Now, when it comes to beat matching, there will be times where you need to nudge the track forward or back to line the beats up because they're slightly out. And that is what the jog wheel is for. So on each deck, you have a jog wheel, which is designed to kind of emulate vinyl from back in the day. It gives you a real tactile, hands-on way of interacting with your music. But as a beginner DJ, the way that you're going to be using and interacting with this jog wheel is to nudge the track forward whilst it's playing, or nudge it backwards whilst it's playing to get the track in time. Now, lots of DJs out there would say, for a beginner DJ, just use the sync button. And whilst I have no problem with the sync button, I use it all the time, I actually believe that as a beginner DJ, you should be learning with the best habits you possibly can. There's nothing wrong with sync, but the problem with sync is you can't rely on it 100% of the time. For sync to work properly every time, your beat grids on your track inside your DJ software have to be perfect. And the beat grid is something that the software will set automatically. And 9 times out of 10, it sets it correctly. But there is a 1 in 10 chance, roughly, that the beat grid will be set wrong. And what that means is if you then press the sync button to sync both tracks, because the beat grids aren't correct, it's actually going to make your mix sound atrocious. And if you don't have the core skills to know how to fix this, then you're kind of screwed. So in my opinion, it is well worth taking the time to learn to beat match the way I'm showing you in this video so that you know how to do it properly from day one. So to show you how you can use the jog wheel to manually nudge a track back in time, I'm actually going to adjust the tempo of the track on the left deck to 129. And the reason I'm doing this is to make sure that there is a tiny difference in the BPMs of both tracks of just 1 BPM and show you how you can practice nudging the jog wheel forward to get the track back in time. This is going to be an invaluable skill to learn, and trust me, it's going to make you a way better DJ right at the start of your journey. So now I'm going to press play on both decks at the same time, and you'll start to hear that the track on this deck will drift out of time because it's 1 BPM slower. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to nudge the jog wheel forward to bring the track back in time. And it's then going to go out of time again. So we're going to have to keep on top of it and keep nudging this track forward. This is a great thing to drill to help you get used to the feel of the jog wheel and get used to nudging the track back in time properly. So let's take a listen. So you can hear it going out of time. And I'm nudging the jog wheel to line up the beat grids at the top of the software. This is a great skill to learn, and I highly recommend practicing this one by offsetting the BPM of one of the tracks by 1 BPM. Okay, the next core skill is EQ control. Now here on the DDJ Flex 4, you have a 3-band EQ right here. And you will have a 3-band EQ on your DJ controller, no matter what DJ controller you're using. This is universal. So this knob right here, this is the low or the bass frequency. This one right here is the mid-range frequency. And this one here is the high frequency. And this allows you to sculpt the sound of the music that you're playing in an infinite number of ways. But at this stage of your journey, the key is to keep things simple. I'm now going to play this track and I'm going to adjust all of these different frequencies. And if you can, I recommend using headphones to listen to this part of the video, because if you're listening through a phone or laptop speakers, you may not hear much difference when I adjust the bass. And that is because phone speakers and laptop speakers, they can't reproduce much bass at all. But you should be able to hear the difference in the mid and the high frequencies, no problem. So let's take a listen. So right now we've got all of the EQs at 12 o'clock. That means that the EQ is flat. So no EQ is being applied, whether it's being deducted or added. So now let's take out the bass. So loads of the energy has gone out of the track. Let's bring the bass back. So there's so much of the energy of the track which lies in the low end frequency. And the bass frequency is actually by far the most used EQ for me. I use the bass frequency 95% of the time that I'm using the EQs. And I recommend, as a beginner, that you do the same. So now let's take a listen to what it sounds like when we adjust the mid frequency. So now we only have the bass and the treble coming through. And you'll notice that a lot of the vocals are in that mid-range. You can still hear the vocals a little bit, but they've mostly gone. Now let's bring it back up. So the mid frequency is where a lot of the body of the track sits. Now let's take a listen to the high frequency. Let's turn that down. So now all of the trebly high-end frequencies have gone. Let's bring it back up. Now let's take it out again. So all of those hi-hats have now gone. Let's bring it back up. So the treble frequency, that's where a lot of the shine in the track sits. And you can really sculpt the sound of the music you're playing in big ways by using these different EQs. But honestly, the one that I use pretty much all the time is the bass frequency. And when you start mixing and adjusting the bass frequencies from one deck to the other in the correct way, it will make your mixes sound so much cleaner. This is one of those polishing touches that you put on your mix, which takes you from being a complete amateur to being more professional. Now, core skill number 4, this is going to be your first transition. And this is where we take all of the skills we've learned in those first 3 core skills and put them all together to create a seamless mix from one track to the other. Now, the first thing that you will need to do is you will need to queue up the tracks on your decks. Now, right here, you have a big Q button above the play button, and you have the same on the other deck. And you can actually set this Q to be on any part of this track. So right now you can see from the orange triangle that the Q is currently set right here when the drums kick in on this track. And you can tap this Q button, and whilst you're holding the button down, the track will play, and then when you take your hand off the button, the track will stop playing. So this means that you can tap in time with the other track and then press play. And tapping that Q button is going to allow you to press play more accurately and be more in time with the track that you're mixing into. If you want to change where this Q is set, all you need to do is put your hand on the jog wheel and move it to where you want to set the Q. So let's move it to this clap here. And then whilst keeping your hand on the jog wheel, you can then press the Q button, and you can see that that Q, that orange triangle, has shifted to here. Now let's move it back to the drop. Press Q. And there we are. So now the next thing that you're going to need is your pair of headphones. And these plug in to the front of the DDJ Flex 4. Some controllers have the headphone slot on the left side or the right side, but on the DDJ Flex 4, it's right here. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to start our mix playing this deck out of the speakers, and we are going to cue up and mix in and line up the track on this deck in the headphones. And to do that, all you need to do is turn on the cue button here, and that means that we are now cueing this deck in the headphones. You also need to make sure that your headphone mix knob right here is set to cue, and then this knob here will control the volume of the headphones. Make sure this isn't too loud. You don't want to deafen yourself. Keep it around here, and then if you need to increase it because your headphones are too quiet, you can do that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the bass down on the track that we're going to be mixing in, because I want to fade up the volume as I'm mixing this track in, and I still want this track to be the dominant track. So to achieve that, we make sure we have the bass turned down, and we use the volume slider to adjust it accordingly. So I'm not going to fade this in all the way to the top, but then as the mix progresses and I start swapping over the bass gradually, that's when I can put the volume slider on deck 1 all the way to the top, and then start gradually fading out the track on deck 2. Now this style of mixing is actually quite subtle, and that's because I think this style of mixing really suits this style of music. If I was mixing drum and bass or UK garage, I would actually mix more aggressively. In those genres, I would actually swap the bass round entirely and then swap it back. And I might do this multiple times throughout the mix. But for this transition, we're going to gradually bring the bass round from one deck to the other and then gradually fade out the next track. So to begin this mix, we're going to start playing this track out of the speakers, and then we're going to use the cue button, which we're going to be listening to in the headphones, and we're going to tap the cue button in time with the track playing on this deck. And then, crucially, at the end of the first 32 beat phrase, we're going to press play on the track on the left deck, and then we're going to listen to this in the headphones, and I'm going to cue this up by nudging the track forward or backwards to line up the beats perfectly. And that is when I will start to bring the volume fader up, and we'll start performing our first transition. And then I'll start swapping the bass over and then bringing the track on the right deck out of the mix. So let's take a listen. So I'm going to tap the cue button in time. And at the end of this 32 beat phrase, I'm going to press play. So I'm going to press play in 4, 3, 2, 1, play. So a little nudge to get this in time. So I'm happy that that track is in time now. So let's start bringing up the volume fader very slowly. And this is where I'm going to start shifting the bass EQ over. Very slowly. Kill the bass on the right deck, and then I'm going to slowly fade it out, just gradually. So that right there is your first simple DJ transition, and that skill is going to be the cornerstone and the backbone of every DJ set that you ever play. Now, it is possible to get way more advanced than this, and in fact, on my YouTube channel, I've been teaching DJs how to be more creative with their mixes for well over a year now. But I believe that if you're a complete beginner, simple is the way to go. You need to learn how to walk before you can run. I recommend taking 2 tracks from your chosen genre and then practicing and repeating the same type of transition that I've just shown you here 10 different times. Aim for 10 clean repetitions of this style of transition, and then you can start introducing more tracks into the mix until you can mix and perform seamless transitions one after the other to create a chain. And at that point, that's when you can start to create your own DJ mixes. Now let's talk about how to practice efficiently, because 20 minutes of structured, focused practice beats 2 hours of randomly pressing buttons on your DJ controller any day of the week. Here's what I recommend. Every time you practice, try and keep it to around 20 minutes, but make sure those 20 minutes are focused. Spend 5 minutes on counting phrases and beat matching drills, and then spend 10 minutes repeating the same basic transition, but practice it with different tracks every time. And then once you've done that, I recommend spending 5 minutes trying something new. That could be using the Smart CFX on your DDJ Flex 4. You can turn that on, and then you can control Smart CFX using this dial here for the left deck and this dial here for the right deck. Or maybe you could start using the mid EQ as well as the bass EQ. Trying something new every single time you practice is a really great habit to get into, because this is going to help you grow and progress way quicker. When it comes to learning this stuff, progress is faster than beginners often think. If you just stay consistent with practicing the core skills that I've shown you in this video and don't focus on anything else that will distract you, you're going to progress way faster than you ever could have imagined. The goal at the start is not to become amazing overnight. The goal is to become comfortable, confident, and then clean. And that is going to be so much easier if you focus on the 4 core skills that I've taught you in this video. At this stage of your journey, I actually recommend not focusing on flashy tricks like scratching, hitting hot cue buttons, complicated effects tricks, or mixing between different genres too early, because all of this is just going to hold you back from learning the real foundational skills properly. I actually teach lots of advanced DJing tricks like scratching and multi-genre mixing. But the worst thing you could do is try and jump in to things that are too advanced before you actually understand the basics. All of that stuff will come in time, and I've got a bunch of YouTube videos that will help you with all of that. But for now, keep it simple, learn and master the foundational skills, and you're going to put yourself in the perfect position to progress properly and start sounding professional. And now that you know the fundamentals, the next step is knowing what to practice so that you can improve quickly without wasting any time. So to help you with that, I've put together this video right here, which teaches you the fastest way to sound good on your DDJ Flex 4 by using the effects properly. My name is Blakey. Thanks for watching. I recommend clicking this video next.